The COVID-19 pandemic has definitely presented multiple issues and disparities in New York, particularly right here in the borough of the Bronx. 2 in 5 Bronx families are not sure if they'll be able to pay next month's rent. Half of Bronx families still lack access to reliable internet for online learning, while 3 in 4 families are worried about having enough food. These are just a few of the findings of a new report from South Bronx Rising Together, a project of Children's Aid, Bronx Impact Initiative, advocating for families in the Bronx's Community District number 3. Now, the report seems to aim to better understand the barriers students and their families have faced during the COVID-19 public health crisis. And joining us now to share a little bit more, we're joined by the Community School Director at Children's Aid, Sharon Murray. And Sharon, good to have you.
Oh, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And your report is in depth, and you definitely highlight a lot of the challenges. I'll unpack them a little bit at a time, but let's go a little bit to the report. How long did it take for this report to actually be put together?
Not very long. What happens is that every quarter or so, we do a needs assessment, and this happens anyway. We just gathered the information, kind of just making sure we had enough time between the initial COVID quarantine to now. We just send out the information to the parents. We encourage them to fill it out, and this is our findings.
Right. And when we talk about some of your findings, let's go through this. Food insecurity is huge. And when you look at parents right now, what can you tell us more about the food insecurity issue?
I mean, it's a trickle down effect, right? So COVID has impacted parents' ability to work. So with that lack of income, you get things like food insecurity. And we know that the South Bronx, these issues aren't new, right? We know that none of this information is really new, but what COVID has done is really, really kind of shed a light on the fact that it's now more of an issue than ever. So it's just really the result of the impact of lack of employment, already kind of lack of access to nutrition and proper food. So this just kind of exasperated it, the COVID-19 pandemic.
So when we talk about the pandemic, a lot of things have come to light, and your report has definitely highlighted that. You talked about food, but then we also talked about rent, and many people worried about whether or not I'm going to be able to pay next month's rent. A lot of people have been the beneficiary of the governor's moratorium on rent, but what are you finding?
I am finding that many of our students, they're moving away. They're going back to the Dominican Republic, for example. They're not, they're moving to other places where the rent is potentially lower. So we're losing a great deal of students who are just moving away because they can't afford to live here anymore.
Yeah. Concerns you?
Very much, very much. It's a huge concern. Yes.
Yeah. And when we talk about that, we talk about food insecurity, we talk about housing insecurity, and the rents and being able to, make ends meet. What can be done right now, and what are you doing in terms of trying to bridge that gap?
We're doing a couple of food pantries, at schools, different locations that where Children Aid is operating out of. Also, we also give schools funding to do food distribution to their students. We're constantly in contact with families about where locations. There's different locations in the city. Schools, for example, they give out breakfast in the morning. So just kind of making sure that families have the information where they can actually get food, because food is being distributed at schools. Children's Aid, we're about to open up several pantries in different locations. So we're just making sure, they have the information they need, because I think part of the issue is that there's programs and there's things happening, but parents don't have the information to where to go get these things.
Yeah, access to information is critical. I'll switch subjects for a minute. It's kind of like along the lines of access to information. That access, of course, now that we're not really outdoors, is coming via the internet. We know that a lot of parents are having to make that adjustment and challenge it to the internet. Some people are saying, listen, this should be automatic. But the reality is it's not an automatic for a lot of parents. And then also for students too, with online learning. What can you share with us about the challenges of online learning and also parents making that transition?
So it feels like it should, because we're living in a technology age, or what we think is the technology age, and everybody should be well versed in how to operate technology. But operating my cell phone and operating a platform where I have to submit information, I have to, learn how to use Google Forms and use different programs is way different. So there's a huge technology education gap with many of our students. It did not translate from phone to computer at all. So, we found ourselves, training students and kind of, making sure parents knew how to log into different programs to access the just basic the schoolwork, the daily schoolwork. It was extremely difficult to to try to train parents or children to do these things, because without knowing this information they can't academically they won't be successful. Just up until recently we were, I mean, it's still like a very constant battle with trying to make sure people know how to log in to get their schoolwork, and parents know where to get information. It's a huge disconnect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that your report also comes with some recommendations. Let's talk about some of the recommendations that you're looking at in terms of trying to bridge that gap that you're seeing right there in the community.
Yeah, so some of the recommendations are to just kind of make sure that every family has the digital devices that they need, and that's being done. Although it was some delays in that, where most of our families, I would say 100, almost 100, probably 90, over 90% of our families have everything they need. Um, just making sure we're improving communication, and that we're ensuring that teachers and children's aid staff members are available to kind of address the needs of the the students and the family on a regular kind of ongoing daily basis. So it's really about the information and
Yeah.
improving communication.
Yeah. Another one is like really improving the quality of remote learning, right? I mean, I think that that would be definitely a game changer for a lot of kids. But talk to us about this because we know that parents have the challenge. But what are you hearing about students with laptops and portable devices? Is every student about equipped with what they need?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. We're and if a student is lacking something, for example, you might have the computer device, but you might not have internet. We've been, making sure our students have hotspots. Also, children's aid, has given schools computer donations. So, and you just have to constantly make sure um, you're communicating with parents, and that you're constantly asking if there's anything that you need to improve the quality of the education of the student.
Yeah. The issue of mental health is very important, especially during a time like this. A lot of people uh, have some challenges, and COVID-19 has exacerbated those challenges. What can you share with us about mental health and your findings?
So I mean, what we're finding is that students, just like the adults who are dealing with this, are dealing with um, just the kind of onset of being in your home all the time. You're now in your home, so now you might be a caregiver. Although you're also a teenager, but your parent has to go to work. You might be a caregiver. Just really reporting, and just really the findings are like reporting that students are just feeling stress, some anxiety about not only I have to take care my siblings or my family, or help out in the house, but I have to also perform academically, which is also challenging for a lot of students, because we're missing that community element of going to school, and peer building relationships and things like that. So just a lot of students are reporting a lack of a lack of motivation, and just a lot of stress and anxiety about what's happening in their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely unprecedented, right? We've never seen this before. Students are trying to deal with it. Parents are trying to navigate with you, navigate through it. But how has you, as an organization, been coping with it as well?
You know, we provide provide our employees with kind of meditation classes. We're constantly making sure that we're not overdoing this Zoom thing, the computer fatigue. Just constantly checking in with our employees, just like all organizations are at this time, making sure that they're mentally strong to help the children in our community. So just making sure, checking in with them emotionally, checking in with them, making sure that we have resources that they're able to access for their own mental health.
And if people aren't so familiar with your organization, would you please give us a little bit about your organization?
So Children's Aid is a organization which was started here in New York City. We at this point we're in all of the boroughs, I think, except for Queens. And we are an organization that supports initiatives inside of the school. So it's a community school. So there's schools that have children aid staff inside of their schools. We do tons of outside things like we're inside of community centers. We have our own community center. So we're all throughout the city in every capacity you can think, especially dealing with the needs of our citizens in New York City, basically.
Yeah. Has it been a hard challenge with the COVID-19 pandemic, really, in terms of being able to reach and stay connected?
Yes, it's. I mean, we've been working throughout the COVID pandemic from the beginning. Many of our staff members, they haven't had the luxury of working from home. So they're on the ground, feeding the homeless. They're on the ground addressing the needs of our families. So it's difficult because many of the employees have been affected by COVID, their families, and just trying to stay connected, especially inside of the schools with families. It's extremely difficult because everybody is actually going through the same thing,
Mhm.
and their needs are very similar. Be that employee, and if you're working for Children Aid or if you're helping somebody who is being affected outside of the Children Aid organization.
Yeah. And how do you see things playing out going forward for your organization and the work that you continue to do?
Oh, we're going to continue doing the work. You know what I mean? We're going to continue supporting communities in the Bronx. We're going to continue, following the school leads as far as when we're returning to school and supporting our students. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and even more so now with this particular report coming out, and just knowing that our families and our community, they need us more than ever.
Right. And as the report goes out, where do you go from here with that report?
You just start implementing, whatever the recommendations. You start speaking to other community organizations, and get into talking to people who are leaders in the community and about what their needs are, and we start kind of addressing those recommendations and implementing those recommendations from the report.
Yeah. And so, if people want more information about the organization, what do they do?
Oh, okay. They can visit Children's Aid website. It's a ton of information on there. So just visit the website, and it's a ton of information for sure.
Yeah. And as summer's coming upon us, I know that, we're in the middle of the spring already. Well, it's not the middle, but just starting spring, but people are going to start to look towards the summer. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek as to what we can possibly expect for the summer?
So in the summer, we work closely with the Summer Youth Employment Program, especially in our schools. So look forward to students and young people getting jobs this summer. We'll continue to offer academic support, food and security support. Just we'll continue to do exactly what we're doing now, but definitely looking forward to giving some of our youth jobs this summer.
All right, Sharon, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us here on the Social Justice Forums. Great having you here with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All righty. And listen, we're taking a quick break. We want you to stay with us. We do have more here on the Social Justice Forums coming up right after this.